the co-founder and CEO of Digital Shadows, a startup still.
I'd say we're a growth stage company now.
All right. So you're around 1 year old, if I don't.
Now 4 years old, actually, and just over 50 people.
Oh,
so,
that's great. Oh, so
yeah,
you spent 3 years in London building up?
That's right, and then raised our Series A. So we raised 8 million in February, and I moved out to San Francisco then and to build out the US team.
All right, that's exciting. Could you tell the audience about what you guys do and why?
Sure, yeah. So we provide companies with cyber situational awareness, and by that we mean we look at their digital footprint online. So all the content out on the internet about them, wherever it is, whatever language, wherever it might be, and we analyze that for risks. At the same time, we look at the digital footprints of the bad guys, so the cyber criminals that we can pick up on forums, marketplaces, and chat rooms. And so we provide that side of the coin as well. And we think by putting those two perspectives together, what do you look like online, and what are the bad guys up to? That gives you this cyber situational awareness, as we call it. So in terms of, I guess, where that came from, we started thinking about how the security landscape was changing. So the traditional model was always about the boundary and the perimeter and keeping the bad guys out and keeping your data in the middle and building up the walls around the edge. So it was DLP, firewalls, antivirus, all of these boundary controls. And when we set up 4 or 5 years ago, we saw that companies were having to adopt social media. They were starting to push things into the cloud, and mobile was becoming more and more important as well. And so when you think about the effect that's had on the enterprise, there's suddenly a lot of data, outside the boundary. And when you think about the supply chain as well, one of the banks we work with has over 17,000 suppliers. So there's a lot of information that's being pushed outside. It's being held by third parties. It's hard to keep track of where it ends up. So what we do as a company then is therefore we built a service, so a huge collection engine we call Searchlight, that's pulling in all this information about our clients, analyzing it in real time, identifying lost customer data, IP, be it code or usernames, passwords, credentials, anything out there that shouldn't be out there. At the same time, we're using that platform to monitor the Tor network, the I2P network, and other areas where we find interesting organized criminal activity. So the key point is when we're analyzing this, that we're looking for things that our clients care about. So it's their assets. It's their key employees, their mobile apps, their domains, their code. There's hundreds of bits of configuration that we can add that allows us to find stuff that's directly relevant to. So then the system processes that and it finds things that are interesting. And we have an analyst team that filters the information before it goes to our clients. So they add some context and say, right, we found this document. We think this is significant for this reason, and this is the impact. Here's what you need to do about it. And we have some takedown tools in our portal as well. So, yeah, I could go on, but
yeah. So, just trying to grasp the scope of the techniques you are using. You probably have some kind of scraping going on, some kind of sock puppet accounts on various services. But what else are you technically doing to collect and to monitor and to filter and to store all of this information?
Sure. I mean, we have, in terms of collection, over 60 different connector types. So we're plugging into, various different APIs. We're pulling in things like the Twitter Firehose, of course. We're pulling in things from search engines like Google, Bing, Yandex, Baidu, things like Shodan for devices even. So it's very, very broad coverage. We integrate directly with things like GitHub to get really good coverage of the code repositories beyond what you would get from the search engines. So it's very vast. And then on the other side, we have bots on IRC channels. We have very extensive crawler and index of the dark web. And specifically, that's a nice loaded term, and the media love it. But by that, I mean the Tor network and the I2P network. So we've collected and indexed a huge amount of content on there and continue to do so. And that's then accessible to the rest of the system. And the system itself has a combination of natural language processing and machine learning that it uses to crunch that data down. So we throw away the hay and we're looking for the needles in there. And, you know, in terms of analogies, I guess it's a kind of a needle-rich haystack that we're producing.
All right.
It's, you know, there are needles in there. We find some hay as well. We can't get the machine to be perfect at identifying the interesting content. So that's why we have an analyst team that do the final verification before it gets sent to the client, because we don't want to send false positives, and our clients are already so busy. I think it's one of the big problems in the industry right now is just how swamped the security teams are. There's alarms going off everywhere. There are flashing lights, and you know, knowing what to deal with is a big problem. So for us, you know, even with a big bank, there might be 50,000 mentions a day of all of their assets, you know, their people, their technology, their apps, everything online. And we might boil that down to 5 incidents that we send them, something like that. So it's a small number of things that are directly relevant to them. And I think that relevancy is the other thing that we're really laser focused on, because I think a lot of the industry is taking this bucket of bad approach where they're sort of collecting as much bad stuff as they can and putting it in a bucket and saying, hey, here's all the bad stuff we've got. Do you want to have a look at it for things that are relevant? Or are they just sending the whole bucket across every day? And suddenly these security teams have got to try to figure out what do they do with all of this and what's relevant. Or at the other extreme, you've got companies that write really great reports, but they're very sector specific at best, or maybe they're just industry specific. So the security team has to pick that up, and they've got to report on POC, you know, point of sale, POS malware in Brazil or something like that. And they've got to try to interpret that and figure out what to do with it. So I guess the way we see it, you've got information about everything out there that's sort of a little bit relevant. There's information about your sector, which is a bit more relevant. But what you really want is information relevant to your company, your unique situation.
So you would be interfacing with my SOC, my Security Operations Center, or also with my risk or my second level?
Yeah, we work across a few different layers. So at the CISO level, we have, you know, dashboarding to show, you know, how is the company exposed online, how many incidents we're picking up, how is that changing and trending, how does it compare to the industry average in terms of the digital footprint we pick up. And we can generate, you know, weekly reports, daily reports, whatever's necessary. But then, at the opposite extreme, we expose all of the data we've indexed on the Tor and I2P network to search, you know, in terms of the tech, and we can go into it, but we've got, you know, Elasticsearch running over the top of that. Right. That allows us to pull up some, you know, some interesting results very quickly. And so you can start exploring all those forums and chat rooms. On top of that, we've built up profiles of around 300 different groups and operations.
I was just going to ask if you're building another taxonomy, or are you reusing one of the taxonomies by like CrowdStrike? Are you building your own, or what are you doing?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I guess we map to Stix Taxi as a structure and a data format. In terms of the taxonomies, we take whatever we think is the most prevalent name, if there's one already out there, but we add the aliases that the other firms are using. So we try
pandas
and you've got whatever panda this week is, you know, flavor of the month, and whatever bear. So we just try to map to those. But beyond that, there's a bunch of groups that name themselves in some way because they're more at the hacktivist end of the spectrum or whatever it might be. So those will, you know, we just use those names. It's more straightforward.
Okay. All right. So as a CISO, I'm interested in why I would be using your service. I noticed on your website that you can request a demo. What would be the information that I would get out of that? What could you find on me or a specific test subject?
Sure. So at that stage, what we would do is just pull up our portal and show you what it looks like, pull up some relevant examples to you and your sector of data loss or threats that we've picked up. But at the same time, it's possible to search, you know, our store in the dark web for a particular company name and pull back those results and show them, you know, live in the portal. That's quite different from what you would get with the full service. So the next stage from there could be the full service, or it could be a pilot or proof of concept. And at that point, we would set up the system in a very custom way for that client. So we'd understand, who are the key executives, what are the domains, the IPs, the mobile apps, the code format that they use, package names, all of that rich information. And that helps us identify the digital footprint of the firm, and then the digital shadow, which is the bits that shouldn't be out there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously I could show you a live demo if that would be interesting.
That would be great.
Okay, let's see if the technology is going to work. So,
demo gods, be kind.
Yeah, that's right. How's that working? Can you see my screen?
I got it.
Fantastic.
And I got two little nice heads at the bottom of my screen being recorded.
Great stuff. Okay, so hopefully you can see the dashboard now.
Yeah.
So here we've got so you can consume our service via an API, or we can email alerts. But this portal that we have is sort of the primary mechanism. But we're not expecting our clients to be sat in here all the time. They can log in when they get an email from us, or when they to generate a report. So on logging in, you get a number of incidents in the top left and their severities. Top right, you get a quick summary through, like a leak on Pastebin, and I can cycle through and find out about a DDoS attack and other leaked information. And these 11 incidents would be specific to your company. So we've got a lot of demo data in here right now, but this isn't 11 globally. This is 11 for you. The next panel down gives us a bit of a more generic update of what are the latest things we're seeing in terms of operations and groups that we track, and we've got profiles on each of these, so you can click in for the full story. We do a quick industry news summary as well. So what are the other researchers seeing? What's Krebs up to this week? And the calendar on the right-hand side just shows where there's real-world events that have a cyber component coming up. We then have quite an interesting little pipeline view here that we've just got some demo data in. But if I pull this up, these numbers are not particularly representative. But what this is showing is, if you're a large bank, there might be 50,000 mentions or more a day of you online. And we're able to show, where are we picking those up, which sources. And then fundamentally, the key thing is what's coming out the bottom. So how many incidents are we actually sending you? So those are the needles in all of that hay.
All right. So let's say that I was reading Twitter yesterday, and Black Hat EU, apparently someone presented something about pulling data out of the dark web, right? And one of the things that they could find in one of these bad guy forums was, for example, the physical address of Sarah Palin in the US.
Yeah.
She's in Alaska, I think. Would you be able to find information on a person like that as well through your dashboard?
Yeah, so this is just the front page, and we've got a couple of other bits that I'll really quickly show you, and then do the search. And absolutely, I guess the search is interesting because we're literally pulling in and indexing all the content that we can get hold of, and we've got now we've got several million pages across. It's around 60,000 domains we've seen active this year, or a little bit more than that in the last few months. So it's quite a big store. So if there is leaked data on there, then you can search for it. So you could type in a company name or a person name, but primarily the purpose of the service that we provide is to filter that. So in this incidents list here, you get the ones, the small number of incidents that are directly relevant to you.
Yeah, I understand.
And then if you wanted to, you could go and look at what's going on Tor without having to log into Tor, which is great.
Yeah.
And just to show really quickly, so here we've got this leak on Pastebin, and there's, we've got an analyst assessment of how significant that is. You can actually generate and request takedown from within the portal, which is, helps to speed up processing this. And in terms of these are all the different types of incidents we pick up. So it's very broad: data loss to cyber threat to physical, social, and brand. And then on the threat side, you mentioned about the profiles that we would have. So you can see we've got a stack of different profiles on groups and operations in the portal. So you can see particular groups, tactics and tools that they're using, and even a timeline of their previous activity. So it's very, very rich store. But yeah, to get to your and this is the overview of all the intelligence that we have. To get to your point about the search, I mean, I could just show something fairly generic. So if I do a search for customer data here, to start with, we'll get a few results, and this is in our filtered portal, and the data that we have. But if I tick the bottom box here, IRC and dark web, we're now going to do essentially a raw search over the Tor network and the I2P network. So you can see hits on .onions. As we come down, I'm sure we'll get a few other interesting ones. So here we've got an IRC conversation going on, and it's possible to expand that out and see where he was discussing customer data. Here's the I2P network, so .I2P, and for everything we crawl now, we capture screenshots, so you can click on any of these pages and have a little scroll and see what was that like. So it allows you, essentially a window onto Tor and I2P without having to log on. You're just bouncing off our servers at this point.
Seems like you could have hours of fun digging through this for interesting stories to compete with Krebs on writing up.
For sure. Yeah, that's right. And of course, you could, I won't, but you could type a company name in here and get some pretty interesting results back. So
that sounds very good.
Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. So I'll cut out of the demo because I know it wasn't just a demo you wanted, but hopefully that gives you a good idea of.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks.
We do. No
Thanks. Problem. I think unless you have something final to add, I think we should wrap up the video.
Sure. Yeah. Very, very happy to. Thank you so much for your time, Klaus.
Thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure to talk. I wish you the best of luck with Digital Shadows.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.